LATD Nation, welcome back to the channel. Do we even need to introduce ourselves at this point?
Not really. Honestly, people pretty much know who we are. At least, I hope so.
Yes, sir. But we appreciate the 117 subscribers, so let's just get into it.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Today, we are looking at the details of the long-awaited, controversial Assassin's Creed Shadows. First of all, my brother, let's go with you first.
Yeah, no, so this game has had a long and somewhat troubled history at this point. I remember it was revealed probably around this time last year. And I remember the conversation around this game was divisive, to say the least. Chief among them, the elephant in the room, Yasuke, that was most of the discourse around it. How can there'd be a black samurai? But the whole time, Yasuke is actually a real individual, an actual historical figure that did exist. And the thing about this entry in the franchise is that this is actually the first time that you've had a historical figure be a playable or main character.
Oh, but now, lo and behold, he ain't historical no more.
Apparently all of a sudden, Yasuke, there's an issue with that. There was no problem when George Washington, they portrayed him as a tyrant in one of the Assassin's Creed 3 DLCs way back in the day, Tyranny of King George. That was perfectly fine. But now all of a sudden, this right here, now we can't go for that.
Right.
Even though this is an actual person that existed.
Right. We can fight the Minotaurs in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We can fight the Nemean Lion. We can fight Sekhmet in Assassin's Creed Origins. But oh snap! An actual historical figure and a samurai, but he's black. Ooh, I don't think he was actually a samurai anymore.
We already know what it is. I mean, not to harp too much on it, but I mean,
yeah, we'd have made 2 videos about it.
Exactly. This topic has kind of been well discussed. It's well documented at this point. So, now as time went on, as we started to see more gameplay, started to get a little bit more information, they started to build some hype, at least on my end. I was excited for it. This is the first Assassin's Creed that I've been genuinely interested in playing since Origins, way back in the day, mostly due to its setting. I've always wanted to see a feudal Japan Assassin's Creed. I remember for the longest they said they would never do it, but times have changed, and here we are over a decade since they said that, and we finally have a full-fledged Assassin's Creed set in Japan. Now, the thing about this game, it was supposed to come out in November of last year, ended up getting delayed.
It's crazy enough, it was supposed to come out on my birthday.
Funny enough, it's crazy how that works.
But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, no, it's just kind of like people sort of were kind of trying to write this game off. Oh, well, Assassin's Creed is dead. Assassin's Creed this, that, and the third. But one thing I liked, and I'll give Ubisoft credit, and this is the first time I've been able to say this for a long, long ass time. Ubisoft, they took the criticism, they took the licks, straight to the chin. They put their heads down. They delayed this game, gave it the time that it needed in order to really sort of improve, get better, them to kind of iron out all the details, all the kinks. And as time was going on, we were starting to see more and more of the game. I was like, okay, they look like they're cooking for real. Not just the Naoe, which we all know is the female protagonist, the female assassin in the game. Yasuke, a lot of his gameplay started to look better than what I previously saw, because one of the things that was a concern for certain people was the idea that Yasuke wasn't really going to be very stealthy. He wasn't really a stealth type of character, but recent gameplay showed that no, there's actually definitely some stealth options with Yasuke. I really like how the game is more open-ended in terms of like the play styles than we thought.
Oh yeah.
And so now we arrive, and so far my first impressions of this game, I've been enjoying it a lot. I was actually playing it this morning, in preparation for this first impressions video. I really like what I've seen so far. One thing that I give credit to, the world looks great.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
World looks great. You can go ahead and elaborate on that a little bit.
So yeah, I haven't gone so far into the world just yet. I'm still like on level 10 as far as like progression is concerned, like with the whole like RPG level. So I haven't really seen much of the world just yet, but the little that I have seen, oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the thing is, and just looking at the map itself, and how expansive it is, I already know I'm barely even cracking the surface, if that.
That's what I'm saying. And that's one thing I really like is that with a setting like feudal Japan, there's a lot of potential in the world because obviously this is one of the most fabled historical time periods ever. You know, you got the samurai, you got the kunoichi, the female ninjas, so to say. You
Shinobi.
got a lot, or shinobi, yeah, there you go. You got a lot of potential as far as like a historical world. You got the flowers and everything, like the cherry blossoms and things of that nature, which, depending on the seasons and the time of year, it changes.
Right.
Not only how it looks, but in terms of traversal, like if it's snowing, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to kind of run through the world. I really like that aspect of this game. I really like seeing how dynamic it is. There's a lot of freedom in it.
Definitely.
There's definitely a lot of stuff that I'm looking at as far as compared to old Assassin's Creed. I'm like, oh yeah, they've been in their bag. They've been in the lab.
Right. My favorite aspect of this game so far is the gameplay itself.
100%.
Because unlike so the past couple of years, they've with Origins and especially with Assassin's Creed Valhalla and with Assassin's Creed the Odyssey, you would have to pick between like a male or a female player character because they're the same character, but you had to pretty much choose your gender essentially. So as far as that was concerned, that didn't bother me too much about it. But and also with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, you had two main characters as well, Jacob and Evie Fry. But the only thing is, in one YouTuber who's the Assassin's Creed aficionado essentially, he pointed this out that Jacob and Evie Fry in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, all they really did was just make the characters the same. One was just bigger than the other, essentially.
Yeah, I remember around the time Syndicate was coming out, and they look interesting. Like I like them as characters, in terms of their charisma and in terms of their dynamic. But overall, the gameplay itself didn't look like it was that much in terms of innovation.
But this time, it's definitely here. The innovation is definitely there. My only gripe with Yasuke is that I wish he was a tad bit more agile, but I still understand the tankiness of the character.
Which is one thing I really like. I like how he kind of feels like, you really feel like that type of samurai, like in some sort of old Japanese samurai movie. You really feel like, he one of them ones.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Can't fuck with Yasuke.
Because my thing is with Naue perfect shinobi. She's fast, she's agile and everything, and she can pull off like assassinations, and she blends it with the shadows well. But the thing is with Yasuke, I haven't been too stealthy with Yasuke. I normally just walk into the castles and I start taking shit over. You feel me? Like I just start cutting people up, slicing people. Let me get to this treasure chest over here. Let me get this new skin. Yes, yeah. Let me get
exactly.
December, the dice show come through. Oh, you're not supposed to be here. Well, shit. Well, you ain't here no more. So it's like
that's what I was saying. Like Yasuke, he make you feel powerful.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Naue is more of a traditional type of assassin in terms of how she plays. She feels more traditional. She's more agile. She's more stealthy. She's more about staying in the shadows, like you said.
Yep.
She's more about kind of picking targets off one by one, whereas Yasuke kind of feels like you're a one-man army.
Boom. Thank you.
Which is what I really, really like. I like the diversity in the gameplay. It's something that we haven't necessarily seen too much of in Assassin's Creed, so that innovation is definitely there. So definitely got to shout out the gameplay. I really like what I'm seeing. You really get to see the difference between being a samurai and being a kunoichi. So I really like that aspect of it. Now, going to another positive I have so far, I'll say that, going back to the world feels very immersive, feels very expansive. It really feels like you're in feudal Japan. Like, it really feels like you're almost teleported into it. You get a lay of the land. You get to hear a lot of different dialects. And one thing I really like that they did, they have like that full immersive mode where you have Japanese dialogue with English subtitles, for all you weeaboos out there. I tried it. It's fire. It really is. It's just that I'm thinking to myself, I really don't want to play the whole game like having to read every single subtitle every single time somebody speaks.
Facts.
But one thing I really like is the mixing of languages. You got Japanese, you got Portuguese to really kind of indicate politically where things were in Japan at the time. So I really like that touch. And like I said, the Japanese, the immersive mode is really, really good. Like, it really makes you feel like you're in feudal Japan. Like you
Yeah.
feel fully immersed in it. I really like the acting. I think the acting for that is better. I think
Yeah.
that the Japanese dialogue is definitely a little bit better
Right.
than the English. Not to say that it's bad, but I just think the Japanese feels a bit more competent. Because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of nowadays dialogue does feel stiff.
Yeah,
It definitely does.
Nowadays dialogue is especially. I would say I would honestly say that was bad in English because
It ain't great.
it like in Yasuke's is actually pretty good, but
Yasuke's ain't bad.
yeah, but nowadays is just it can you can tell that the voice actress playing her isn't used to speaking English as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit stiff. It feels a little bit rigid. You know, the way that she pronounces certain things
Right.
kind of is a little bit, it feels kind of emotionless at times. It kind of feels toothless, which for a game that, no spoilers, there is a lot of emotion involved, especially from Noway's perspective.
Right.
So it is kind of like off-putting and jarring that, you know, this is supposed to be a very emotional scene, but in the same breath, you don't feel the weight of the emotion because the voice acting just feels so... It feels really
rigid.
Yeah, it feels rigid. It feels flat a lot of the time.
Cause
it's serviceable.
Yeah, it is. Because the thing
It's
is,
not the worst voice acting I've ever heard.
Right.
Definitely not.
The only time it's really even bad is when it's outside of like the main cutscenes. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like in the beginning and then when she first meets Yasuke, and then probably later on down the line, probably parts I haven't gotten to yet. But it's really like in between when she's just going through like missions and stuff like that. How normally if you played all the other Assassin's Creed RPG type games where they'll just stand there, they'll say this, they'll say that back and forth to each other. Yeah, it'll sound like a little kid reading off like reading something. Not trying to be like mean about it, but that's the best description I can kind of get.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a really good description of it. I would say that it does feel kind of like somebody's reading lines off of a script in the studio, whereas you compare that to something like a Cyberpunk 2077, where the dialogue, it feels so real, it feels so natural, it feels so involved. Like, for example, Pan Am, pretty much my favorite character in Cyberpunk. One of them for sure, top 3. It's definitely my favorite companion character. Pan Am, the voice actress, she put her foot in that dialogue because she exhibits such a range of emotions between being hardened and learning how to kind of open up again, learning to fall in love depending on which path you choose in the game. It just feels so real.
Same thing with Johnny.
Literally every character in there feels so alive.
Especially Jackie for me in that game, but
definitely. Jackie was definitely one of the ones that really felt real. He felt really natural. You could feel the charisma from the actor, you know, through the screen, through the character. And you compare it to this, which is, like I said, it ain't terrible, but I've definitely seen better voice acting. I've definitely heard better voice acting, but overall, it doesn't really drag down the experience.
It doesn't.
Just because the story that I've played so far, I found very interesting. I really like the revenge plot. I kind of like how they set things up early for Yasuke and Naoe to be sort of bound by fate in a way, and they kind of like destined to cross paths and eventually work together. I haven't seen too much of that yet, but what I'm seeing so far, I'm intrigued, and it's keeping me invested and keeps me coming back for more. And ultimately, when it comes to a game, that's the main thing that I've always been a fan of and been I guess sort of looking for in my games, is a story that keeps me coming back, keeps me invested, keeps me emotionally, I guess you could say, invested in these characters, in this story, in this world. You know, games like Last of Us, games like Uncharted, games like Metal Gear, those have always been the kind of games that I gravitated to, where the story kind of took center stage and was the most prominent aspect of it. Don't get me wrong, I'm big on gameplay too. But that mixture of the two, where the gameplay accommodates the story and the story is really good, that's my favorite type of game. And so far, I'm getting a decent amount of feeling towards that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. My thing is, I didn't really come in here expecting the story or really the voice acting, because the story itself to me isn't that bad. It's just how the executed with the voice acting,
Exactly.
But I didn't come into this game really expecting much from the voice acting or anything like that. But
I didn't need it to be. I
didn't need it to be Last of Us.
I didn't exactly. I didn't need it to be Game Awards, Best Actress or Best Actor level performance. I ain't need a Troy Baker or an Ashley Johnson type of performance whatsoever. I don't need that.
It would have helped.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I wasn't looking for that really. It was just more about this gameplay for me and how everything is so far. But
the gameplay in the world is what I was mostly invested in. That's mostly what I wanted to see.
Now, one negative I do have with the gameplay though, it is very minuscule. It's really sometimes when playing as Naue and a little bit of Yasuke, some of the parkour can be a little bit.
It's a little bit rigid.
Right, exactly. It doesn't feel like there's any momentum, especially when you're running as Naue, because in this game the sprint speed with her is very much nimble, like a shinobi.
Yeah,
almost like you could put your arms back out and run like Naruto. You feel me? So to be honest, I kind of wanted that in this game too.
Because I wouldn't have been mad at that, low key. But I'm surprised they didn't do that.
I was like, I wanted more nods to Naruto in this game too, though. But that's not really important. But my thing is, anytime you would come across a fence, she doesn't like vault over the fence. She'll stop, hop over it, and then keep running.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I really have noticed just in my few hours of playing it. That the parkour, I don't know. It almost, but to be fair, I haven't played Assassin's Creed since Origins, so it's been almost a decade. So from what I remember playing it, the parkour low-key kind of felt more natural back then as opposed to now. For some reason, it feels a little bit more stiff.
Right.
But that's just me. That could just be me, though, just because recency bias. I haven't played Assassin's Creed in almost 10 years, so I could very much be wrong. It could be improved. Or it could be the same. I really don't know.
To be honest, from what I remember, I think it is slightly the same. Mainly just because every time compared to, let's say, Unity, Syndicate, 3, 4, everything in those games as far as running and parkour mechanics have felt natural and felt real and felt like the momentum kept going.
Yeah, exactly.
But as soon as you hit from Origins to now, it has really, except for Mirage, but Origins to now, like it's always felt kind of stiff to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
the climbing mechanics aren't bad. We're never really that bad, but whenever you're trying to do something like flashy or something like that, or something like natural hell, just keeping the momentum going, it would always just stop right in place.
That's what I've noticed, because I remember playing 3 and 4. The momentum just felt much more. It just felt like there was more momentum. It felt like kind of this thing where you almost like Mirror's Edge, where it was like you just wanted to keep the momentum going. You wanted to flip over stuff. You wanted to jump from stuff. You wanted to vault. All kinds of things. It felt more natural back then. This game, it feels a lot slower. It feels slower. It feels a little bit jankier. It feels a little bit more stiff.
It like, I'll put it like this. Naue versus Connor and Connor in a race, Connor would win because he has they have that smooth parkour versus Naue. Now it's kind of like the turtle in the hair.
Connor definitely feels a lot more. From what I remember playing 3 back in the day, Connor felt more smooth and natural. But one thing I will say that I do like is how much they have changed the combat over the years, because at some point Assassin's Creed's combat, at least for the first game all the way to, I would say, about Origins, it really felt very been here, done that after a while. It felt recycled. It was basically the same thing. You waited for somebody to attack you, you would parry, and then you would, kill somebody or whatever, and then you would chain attacks and things like that. Now, over the years, they did add things that kind of helped improve it, like quality of life. Things like you would have dual parries, and you would have what else would you have? You have stuff like multiple assassinations. Like you'd be able to like jump and assassinate 2 people at the same time. Mm-hmm. So over time, they did change stuff, but the core combat, like when you were actually fighting somebody, it was still the same for the most part. It was still very much that flashy, wait for somebody to attack, parry them, kill them, chain this and that. Now it looked good. It looked really, really good. I remember Assassin's Creed 3 had some real fire animations. They all did, but after a while, it just boiled down to the same thing. So by the time Origins came around, I like how they kind of changed it to more sort of, you had your shield, kind of RPG-esque sort of fighting.
Right. I mean, I agree.
They overhauled it for sure, but at the same time, I guess you could say, not to cut you off,
You good.
it sort of did lose its identity to a degree, just because when they started focusing on that, the assassin elements, like the stealth and things that it was known for, kind of became less focused.
It got put on the
over
back
time.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that they seem with this one to have an equal balance. You still have your classic assassination, jumping up, assassinating people, whistling behind a structure or whatever, waiting for somebody to walk, up to you, and then you assassinate him and then drag him behind where you're at. So it's good to see things like that are still there, but you also get that sort of that Yasuke type gameplay where it's more sort of brutish sort of tank, more so militant type of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So I like how they seem to have a wide variety of what everything people have come to expect from Assassin's Creed, both old and new.
Right, because with Naoi's combat, I like how it's swift. It's
same.
it's very dodge, pokey, dodge.
Very much so. I do like that.
It's weird, but that's how I can describe it. It's very like
agree.
it's very like wear your opponent down and then go for the final blow. But Yasuke, nah, you just go in there like a tank, take the Naginata or one of the maces or something like that, and then just knock people's heads off.
Exactly. Nowadays it's a lot more touch and go. It's kind of more like anticipation, dodge.
It's very George Foreman versus Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, exactly.
Rest in peace.
You kind of chip away at people's health bar with Now Way, kind of anticipate their move, kind of dodge, like a Shinobi should. Mm-hmm. Whereas Yasuke is more that brutish sort of like take no prisoner type, and I like that.
Yeah, because my thing is with Yasuke, like another somewhat of a gripe that I have with the Yasuke's gameplay, I wish he was a tad bit more on the agile side as well. But like I get the concept with the tankiness and everything, him being a one-man army. Yeah, but I kind of wish that he was a tad bit more agile. Maybe not as much as Naue is, but at least like he could get around a little bit, not as efficient, but a little bit more efficiently than he does.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because now it's fun playing as Naue in as far as like traversal is concerned.
I was about to say,
but when it comes
traversal's probably better.
But when it comes to Yasuke, it doesn't feel like Ghost of Tsushima per se, but it feels very much like me, a big guy running like a 10-mile hike, trying to get somewhere without stopping.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely see that comparison.
Versus Naue, who feels almost like Spider-Man in a way.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, based on like the couple of hours I played, I'm having a good time.
Oh yeah, me too.
This is the most fun I've had with Assassin's Creed in a long time, and I hope that how I feel about it now either stays the same or it gets better, because I like the foundation that they built, that I've experienced so far. So overall, my impressions, generally my first impressions, solid game so far. Look forward to seeing how the story progresses, how the characters progress, how the world progresses, and just overall, I'm having a good time. So
yeah. Same here.
I like it.
Yeah, so far I'm having a great time with it too. I probably have like 15 hours playing it already.
Okay, yeah, so you've been in the lab with it for sure.
Yeah, bro. Because my thing is, I was trying to get that play as Yasuke so bad, and as Naue, man, I love it. I'm enjoying myself.
For sure, most definitely. So yeah, overall, first impressions over on LATD side, pretty good.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, Ubisoft.
Please, and don't stop.
Please don't get back into y'all old ways. Don't get back into y'all old bullshit, because I know how y'all go.
Because I love you. I love you.
Y'all ain't slick. I know how y'all go.
Yeah. I love you, Ubisoft, man. And I'm sick of these people saying that you whack. Shut up. I'm sick of people saying that you whack. Please keep it going. But with that being said, man, I've been Jay.
And this has been Rodney.
And we are LATD. Remember, everybody, look at the details. Peace.